Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, this is from standleague.org. More than likely a Scientology publication. Dated February 16, 2022. How Scientology made me honest after a life of crime. This is how they get people. They can't just get to people that are, well, I mean, they do get to a lot of people, but they don't like people that are successful and doing well without having to rely on something outside of themselves. With the misinformation that can be found out there about any religion, right away he's defending. If there is one thing I want people to know about Scientology, it's that it changed my life by making an honest man out of me. And you know that they'll use his criminal background against him if he wants to leave, or, I mean, it's easy blackmail. It transformed me from a hardcore criminal safeguarding hundreds of secrets to a man who had confronted my past, come clean with the police, and given back thousands of hours to my community. Did they find this guy when he was doing community service? Through the some of these community service programs that I think the police run? I'm just wondering. This is my story. I was abandoned when I was a baby, left in a hospital, to be put up for adoption by my mother, who was ashamed to have conceived me by adultery. This was the start of my life. From there, I was chosen by a loving couple who took me home and raised me as their own. Life seemed fine until one day, when I came home from school, I was made to sit and told to listen. My mother and father each burst into tears as they told me that they were getting a divorce. My mother was moving overseas, they told me, and never coming back. My dad was to look after me. I was 14 years old. I was devastated, letting it all sink in, when the next bit came crashing in like a hammer through a glass window. Also, you are not really our son. We adopted you. It's Auckland, New Zealand, where Andrew was born and raised. I couldn't stop crying. The moment was a turning point, the beginning of the decline of my life. Honestly, it's just too bad. From then on, I rebelled against everything and everyone. I no longer trusted any authorities, adults, or family. I had no one but myself, but soon I began relating to other kids at school who also had broken families. We became friends and started hanging out. This led me into getting up to mischief during and after school. It started with vandalizing property for fun. Then that quickly turned into breaking and entering cars, and eventually houses. It continued for months and months. I was breaking into anywhere from 20 to 200 cars a night, and 1 to 5 houses a day, depending on how tired I was. So everything was good until he was 14. And then his parents divorced, and then this. After a while, that wasn't enough. Houses turned into shops, and shops turned into shopping malls, factories, and warehouses. Then those turned into banks and casinos. I ended up networking with heavily armed underground criminal organizations or international weapons smuggling and counterfeiting passports and currency. Passports, huh? By this time, I was 20 years old and living the life of a full-time criminal who was always on the run and never able to rest or sleep for too long. One day I trusted the wrong person and the international police were tipped off. An armed offender police unit was sent in to secure the streets where I lived and to box me in. They found me in my house and took me to jail, but had only enough evidence to get me on one crime, the passport fraud. This was a maximum sentence of 13 years. After some negotiations, I managed to get off on 6-month probation. It wasn't easy, but that's a story for another time. I decided that there had to be knowledge out there on how to navigate life successfully and in an honest way. It doesn't have to be Scientology. All these successes and doing well and improving your life and even law of attraction, it's all in you. You don't need anything outside of yourself. I was released on probation to check in once a week or be jailed instantly if I missed or was late to even one appointment. My enemies were my rival gangs, police, people I had transgressed against. I didn't have a family to turn to. I'll bet the Scientologists use that as well, that, cops are not their thing. I didn't have an education to fall back on. I didn't have a work history or bank account or job or even a driver's license. No birth certificate, no people to vouch for me, no friends, no one. Well, that's when Scientology's gonna slither in. I found myself back at that point where it all began, and at that first moment, I decided that life was not worth living if I was going to go back to a life of crime, just so I could survive. I realized I needed to make a change or be doomed to this lifestyle until I died. I was not going to be a beggar on the street. Well, there's always jobs, right? Suppose it's not that easy, though, once you got a criminal background. I was going to end it or give it one more shot. I decided that there had to be knowledge out there on how to navigate life successfully and in an honest way. I knew there had to be, because there were people everywhere who were succeeding, and they weren't doing it criminally. Yeah, you don't need Scientology for that. They had businesses and houses and cars and jobs and families. So I decided to start looking for this knowledge, talking to people and asking them. I started reading books in bookstores and started learning about history. I learned that throughout history, people seem to agree that if you want to change or improve, you have to improve your own viewpoint and attitude. Yep, you don't need Scientology for that. Then the type of atmosphere you create in your environment changes, and you expose yourself to opportunities you never previously had. I soon found myself absorbing knowledge everywhere I went. Granted, I was stealing the books, but I was absorbing knowledge nonetheless. I studied many religions and attended churches and spiritual centers to see what they knew. Some had some good knowledge, but not everything I needed. I was looking for someone or something that would answer every question I had about life to my full satisfaction. I'm just trying to show the other side. As you know, nobody can talk against Scientology, or else they're suppressive. I came across the Church of Scientology, and they had courses covering virtually every life skill, which was exactly what I was looking for. I took a personality test to discover where my strengths and weaknesses were. He could have done this without them. There's all kinds of personality tests you can give yourself free without going to Scientology. And the results showed that my weakest point was in the area of integrity. Wow, how poignant that one was, right? The course was offered to me. I wonder how much he had to pay. Teaching me the skill. I don't know how much I could read of this, you guys. Teaching me the skill to restore my integrity and self-worth. The Personal Values and Integrity course. You don't need Scientology for that. It sounded like exactly what I needed, and I wasn't going to pass up any opportunities as I was on my last journey for change. Notice nobody in their success stories ever talks about how much money they have to pay. You guys notice that? Must be a conspiracy. I progressed through the course, which explained that in order to gain relief from the pressures I was feeling from the transgressions and secrets I was carrying around, I needed to unburden myself. I needed to get the crimes or wrongdoings out of my head and onto paper. I tried it with a small crime, and it did feel good. When I got to the bigger crimes, it was much harder to get them out. But I had nothing to lose. It was either all in and do it properly and see if it works, or go half in and waste mine and everyone else's time. Oh, he's doing his overts and withholds, you guys. Just so you know, children have to do this as well. Isn't that wonderful? Mass media is fine with it. Government officials are fine with it. Police are fine with it. So what he's doing is, I mean, a lot of people do this. It's like, all you have to do is just write down things that you feel bad about or guilty about, and then you just work on it yourself to get it off your chest. That's why people go to therapists. That's why people talk to priests. That's why people journal. Doesn't mean that it didn't happen. It's just like you kind of letting it go, I guess, in a way. So what he's talking about is his overts and withholds. I put down 973 crimes and transgressions. Once they all came out, and through the sweat, the tears, and laughter that I experienced, could have done that in journaling. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. See, this also happens in auditing. It's the same thing as when you have a really good talk with your friend when you're stressed out. It's no different. Like, I have a good friend that I talk to about my breast cancer issues, and I always feel better when I talk to her. It's just, you don't need to pay lots of money and go through Scientology to get it. In realizing all the bad that I had done, I restored my ability to care about others. This opened up the doors to real change. As a criminal, the one thing you learn to block out is your ability to care. Anybody in the audience know how much does it cost to take this one? Because, he doesn't talk about how much he had to pay for it, or did he have to take out a loan to get it, or, did he have to give free labor to get this? I knew I needed to finish my course and start mapping out a future. One of the staff members at the church, were they a child? Was a staff member a child? Because most of the staff are children. Government officials are fine with it. Police have signed off on it. Child Protective Services, hunky-dory. One of the staff members at the Church of Scientology asked me if any of these crimes were still outstanding or unresolved legally. That's part of the blackmail right there, too. Because then they got something on them. It's a ruin. I said, yes, many. They explained that the honest route would be to clean up my record in the eyes of the law. I had to think long and hard, and I had to confront that if I was to walk into a police station and hand over and confess to a list of 973 crimes. Is that a 5 or a 3? Oh, 975. 975 crimes. I would likely end up in prison for the rest of my life. You see how fast they got his ruin, you guys? It didn't take long. And this poor dude doesn't even know what they're doing. And honestly, a lot of them don't even know what they're doing. They don't even know what they're doing. They're just doing everything in automatic. But I learned on the course that the only way to put an end to a demon you are running from is to face it head on. I know this to be true through my life experiences too. So I made the decision to go to the police station and turn myself in. I asked one of the staff of the church to come with me as I needed as much moral support as I could get. We went to the station and I turned in the document detailing my hundreds of crimes. A senior sergeant then interviewed me. He was shocked to know I was there to come clean and that I was on a correction course of my own volition thanks to Scientology. He could have done this without Scientology. That's the secret right there. He mentioned there needed to be a lot of background case file checks on all the crimes and locations, and that he needed to put these all together to determine what to do next. He said he needed 2 weeks. The officer looked at me and said that I had done an amazing job all the way from the first time I walked in to now, and that he was so impressed. So for 2 weeks, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and was waiting for the police to bust down my door. I decided to help out at the church to try and keep my mind busy. Boy, talk about getting people when they're vulnerable, you see. When the 2 weeks were up, I called them to face the dragon head on. They had moved all my files to a local police station that had been dealing with these cases for the last few years. When I contacted them, they had not received any files, and when I called back the original station, they said they had sent them and that they no longer had jurisdiction over this case. I went back and forth for a week like a ping pong ball until both stations refused to take my calls and told me to stop calling. I waited another week, still no response. So on the recommendation of the church, I decided to do my own community service as a means to make up the damage in some way. Also, they're using guilt as well. Which, I mean, if he's committing the crimes, he should have some guilt, but I'm just saying. What I talk to you guys about, fear, obligation, guilt. It's in narcissism, but of course cults use it. And granted, some of the Scientologists probably think they're doing something good, so I'm not saying all of them are like, ooh, they're all evil to the core. I decided to do my own community service as a means to make up the damage in some way. I rang the police one more time and told them I was going to do my own community service. They said that would be fine, just to keep a record of my hours and where I volunteered. I mean, like, honestly, too, though, I gotta wonder what crimes was he committing? You know what I mean? Like, and they just let him go? I mean, maybe they were, like, really, I don't know. It's just weird. For the next 12 months, I got trained by the church in criminal rehabilitation. You know, they have no credentials for any of this, right? But government officials are like, yeah, it's Scientology. Yeah, if you're Scientology, you can do anything. You can abuse children, you can neglect children, you can even rape children, and nobody goes to jail. Nobody ever goes to jail for it, you know. Got trained in criminal rehabilitation, drug rehabilitation. Again, they have no credentials. Literacy, human rights, human rights. Can you imagine this, you guys? That's like the biggest, like, mockery of all. And drug prevention. I went out into the community and worked with over 50 different groups. And I volunteered to help them deliver programs, work with youth one-on-one, and run workshops and seminars up and down the country. I clocked up to 2,000 volunteer hours over 12 months. The church encouraged me to contact the police once more. So I went to the station and confronted my fear again. I presented the 2,000 volunteer hours with full details. I was confronted with a pause and silence while the document was being read. The officer looked at me and said that I had done an amazing job, all the way from the first time I walked in to now, and that he was so impressed. He then handwrote a letter on New Zealand's police letterhead and signed and stamped it. It said I was free to move on, that they would not be pressing charges. He gave me the document and wished me good luck for my future. That was nice. It was nice. Because clearly, you know, he's trying to redeem himself. But he didn't need Scientology for it. Since that time, I have built my own nonprofit organization. I teach kids how to start a business with little to no money, how to trade any product, buy and sell, how to pay tax, open a bank account, how to budget and allocate funds. Oh, I think a lot of Scientology children need this. I help give them the ability to create an income so they never need to resort to crime for money. All of this was because of Scientology. I mean, this is this guy's opinion, and I understand why he would think that. You know, the people that go through these things, they feel like Scientology or Scientologists were there for them when they needed them. But, I mean, I feel it's unfortunate. Because of the knowledge it gave me, because of its workability, till, you know, you get put into ethics. And because of the guidance, you know, until you get a KR written on you. Guidance and support of the church, until you call the suppressive because you ask questions. During the toughest time of my life, because that's when Scientology always goes for people, including children. Without Scientology, I would have been in jail or dead by now. They're never going to let him forget it, too. You know that, right? Remember the dude that, in front of the blue building, I forget what the guy's name was. I can't think of it right off the top of my head. Him and his cronies, like, attacked DOA when he was doing the barbecue. That's the kind of crazy loyalty you get. But little did that guy know, the one who was, turning over DOA's table and all that, little did him or the other guy know that the managers or OSA and all that, they wouldn't give two craps at all if they went back to jail. So, instead, I am living life to the fullest and helping others do the same. So, I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you want. Peace.